So we're going to take out the spark plugs next. We've got, it's a 2-cylinder, 2-stroke, top cylinder, and the bottom cylinder is down there. Top cylinder, dead easy. You pop the spark plug boot off, you've got direct access, you can see the spark plug there. The lower spark plug, which is in there, you have to take this sort of mid-section cowling off. Now to do that, I've got 8mm spanner for this bit, and the bolts you want to take out. So you've got this one here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 on the back there. Take them out and the cover will separate and you can get to the lower cylinder. There we go, I've removed all the bolts there and the cowling sort of just peels away. Don't need to fully remove it because all we're interested in is getting to here. Might have to remove this coil pack. If that's the case, just the 2 bolts there. Not a big job. Biggest job is just getting the side cover off. Be very careful when you put it back together though, because it is plastic and you can crack these incredibly easily. So the removal of a spark plug, much the same as any other engine. Remove the spark plug boot, put the socket on it, and then just wind it out. Simple as that. Like I mentioned earlier, to get to the lower spark plug, we're going to remove this top coil. So I'm using a metric set, this bolt here and this bolt here, M11. Remove them. Might have to snip that cable tie that's just holding some cables on, and we should be able to move the coil pack out the way and access the boot of the other spark plug. So as soon as you're struggling to remove the last bolt here, I think it's part of the thread's damaged, it just won't come out, it just spins. This is a tapped thread in this bracket, same as the other side. Other side just won't come out, but we just move that up out of the way, we've got access. Not the best, but it'll do. Didn't have to remove that cable tie. The leads for the input of the HT coil are just cable tied to the coil itself, so that's fine. Could have just disconnected it here, this clip, but because we can't get the other bolt out, I'm just going to hold it up out of the way. We'll remove this one, remove the old spark plug, and then we'll get to putting the 2 new ones in. Okay, so that's top and bottom spark plugs removed. And what I've done, I've just gone ahead and I've just cleaned the faces up just ever so, where the spark plug washers sit. There's a bit of gunk on them, so I've cleaned them up. And now we can go ahead and calibrate the 2 new spark plugs. So here's the old ones I've removed. The left one is the top, the right one is the bottom. These are the Champion QC10WEP spark plugs. Quite expensive for what they are. I think they're quite an uncommon spark plug in the UK. Don't think many cars use them. I think some Chryslers might. And iridium tipped. So for those that don't know, with an Evinrude ETEC engine, it's a 2-stroke engine, but it's fuel injected. Here's the injector for the top cylinder, fuel injector for the bottom cylinder. Now, something that many people don't know with these spark plugs, they've got to be what's called indexed, and what that means is the open part of the electrode shroud here, this being the back at the ground, has to face the injector. So basically, as it goes in, you can see the open part, it has to face within, I think it's 180 degrees face. Ideal, literally the open part facing directly the injector. Now the way to do it is just to find the face of it and draw a line. I'll show you on the new ones I've got. Draw a line on them once you've gapped them and insert them, and hopefully when your spark plug is seated, the line is somewhere within sort of this left hand 12 to 6 o'clock position. If it's on the other side facing sort of away from the fuel injector, it's no good. The spray pattern will hit the back of the ground here and you'll get engine knock, poor performance, smoke, probably build up a soot. So something to watch out for. It's a common mistake. People just put them in like any other engine. You just stick a spark plug in and away you go. But with this engine, it's imperative that that open part faces within 180 degrees, I believe, of the injector. So here we go. I've got the service manual here. The spark plugs gives you the information. Like we know, the Champion spark plug QC10WEP. The gap is 0.71mm for metric and 0.028 plus or minus 0.003 of an inch. Gives you all the information for the removal, the indexing, and here we go. This is what I was on about before. Number 1 is the unshaded area, so you've got 180 degrees, and number 2 is the shaded area, which is sort of opposite the injector, and you're wanting your spark plug to fall within the unshaded area. Give you some torque settings here, and basically what they're saying is if your spark plug open part of your ground is in the shaded, it's no good. You can try it on your cylinder, it might work on that one, vice versa. But if both spark plugs you try fall within the shaded area and you've upped the torque to the max, unfortunately you're going to have to exchange that spark plug for another one. I hope that makes sense. So this is the best thing to do. On the open section there, I've drawn a line so I can visually see where the open part of the ground is once it's in the engine. Otherwise you're going to have no idea of where it is. The line shows you the ideal position to be in. Just another tip for you. So we'll set the gap now on these spark plugs. Feeler gauge here, the closest I can get is 0.7mm. On these iridium tipped ones, try not to just force the feeler gauges in. You can get feeler gauge, it's almost like a ring that you can bend the ground back. So these ones, I'm literally just showing you how it goes in. You can see there, without hardly any resistance, it slides in. Can't really show it one-handed here, but it does go in. What you want to be very careful of on these spark plugs is they have got iridium tips, and if you force a feeler gauge in like this one, you can damage or remove that coating. So use the ring ones. I haven't got one to hand, but you basically just you can bend them back and close the gap without touching the tip itself. And then with that feeler gauge, I'm literally just very gently just feeling my way in there, and that's set to 0.7. There we go. I've set the first spark plug. You can see our line there. There's our fuel injector. This one's perfect. It's snug up probably at the 4 o'clock position, and by the time I came around to here it was perfectly set. So I'm very happy with that spark plug. Hopefully bottom cylinder is exactly the same, but there's only one way to find out, and that's to put it in. One thing I do like to do with every spark plug, I always like to start them off by hand and just wind them in so I know the threads are seating correctly. The last thing you want to do is sort of position the spark plug over the top of some threads and get on it with a socket and cross thread it. It's easily done, especially with these. It's aluminium head, so I always love to start them off by hand, and then once they're pretty much seated, I get the socket on and then finish them off, sort of like a 2/3 or quarter turn. You don't have to go mad with them. There's a setting on the box or in the manual that'll sell you this torque setting, or normally it's like a turn. You seat it down and it's like a bit like a fuel filter or oil filter, and then it's a quarter turn or something like that. Normally, like on this engine, it's a torque set. So that one's seated. It's slightly past sort of 9 o'clock, probably 10 o'clock position. Still well within the shaded area though. So top and bottom cylinders, very happy with them. We can reattach this coil pack to this bracket here and ensure that the boots and where the seat onto the coil packs are firm. You get an audible click with the boot once it's on top of the spark plug. So there we have it. Both spark plugs are now being replaced, gapped and indexed correctly. And the last thing to do, if that was all you were doing, would be to put the cowling back on. Like, you know, the side covers there. You've got your little screws. Like I say, be very careful. There are plastic mounts. If you over torque them, you will shatter them. I've seen plenty of these shattered before. I'm surprised this one hasn't got any that are shattered yet. After that, it would just be the case of putting the top cowling on and you'd be good to go. But with this engine, we've still got a bit to do, so I'm going to leave them off for now.